guys, today I'm going to show you how to create this clay Greek mythology inspired vessel. So this project is actually in two videos. This video is going to show you how to just create the basic three-dimensional clay vessel, and then the second video is going to show you how to do the black underglaze and then sgraffito in the design. Now this pot that I'm holding here actually isn't fired yet, so it would look just slightly different when it's fired, but I wanted to go ahead and make this video so you guys could get started on this project. Alright, so let's get going.
Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we need to draw our Greek vase. So you're going to take your paper and you're going to fold it in half. You can fold it in half this way or this way. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to fold it in half like a book. And you're going to draw half of your vase, and that's because you want your vase to be symmetrical. So I'm going to give it a top with a rim and a neck with a body, and I'm going to give it a foot. Alright, so there's my vase. Then I'm going to take scissors and I'm going to cut through both layers of paper. And I'm going to carefully cut out my vase. So there's my vase. If you don't like it, you can always close it up, change some stuff, and open it back up. I think it looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and go with this. The next step is rolling out your clay. Okay, I'm ready to roll out my clay. So I have my red clay. It's sitting on plastic. I've got 2 paint stirrers that I'm just going to use for their thickness to keep from rolling my clay too flat. And I've got my rolling pin. So you're just going to start in the middle, making nice even rolls back and forth until your clay is as flat as your 2 sides are. Now you only need your clay to be big enough to fit your vase on. So that looks good. Next I'm going to just lay my vase down on my clay. I'm going to smooth it out a little bit so it stays. I'm going to take my needle tool and just cut through that clay, tracing the outline of my vase. Then you can just peel off that clay that's around your vase. You can peel it off in one big piece. I find it easiest to kind of peel it off in chunks. It's best if you pull up and away from your clay to get those pieces off. In little areas, you might have to go in and cut through a couple times, or even use your needle tool to kind of help you get all that clay out of there. Sometimes it even helps if you go over your lines a few times just to make sure that you've really separated all that clay away from your vase. Alright, so there's one vase, and you can go ahead and peel your paper off, and you're actually going to need 2 of these, one for the front and one for the back. Alright, so I rolled some more clay out, and then I just cut them in strips. How wide you make your strips will determine how thick your vase will be when you have your front and back together. The front and back are going to be these shapes, and then the sides are just going to be parallel. So I made my sides the same thickness as a paint stirrer because it was just easy to lay it on the clay and cut along both sides. Of course, if you have something similar to this and you want your vase to be wider, you could use 2 next to each other. You could use a ruler, you could measure. But I definitely suggest using some kind of straight edge. So what you're going to do is you're going to be taking these and following the perimeter of your vase, standing these upright along the sides. So before I stick them on, I need to score and slip where I want them to go. And then I need to score along the edge as well. So I have some slip right here, Slip, as everybody knows, is just clay and water mixed together. The best consistency for slip is kind of like a melted ice cream or a milkshake consistency. Mine is just a little bit separated, but it should work okay. So what you're going to do is you're just going to use your fork to create score marks along where you're going to put those strips. So they're not sticking to the side of this vase, they're actually sticking along the top on the very edge. So obviously you want your sides to go all the way around your vase except the top. You want the top to be open. Score marks should be crisscrossing. That's always very important when you are doing clay. I'm also going to take this piece and stand it up and do my score marks going across it. Then you just add some slip, a lot of slip. More slip is always better than not enough. More slip just makes your project messy. Not enough slip means your project doesn't stay stuck together. And I'm going to take this and start at the top and carefully push from both sides and push that down into the side. Now at corners, you can either bend to follow around your corner, or you can cut your side piece off at that height and then reposition your next piece to follow around. I like to kind of slowly hold up one end and use my other hand to position as I go. And then once you've got it kind of all on, I go back and really make sure that my sides are pushed down well into my base. So this line should really match this line, and you can even use your paper, it's starting to get kind of dirty, as a map to make sure that things line up correctly, because eventually this other piece is going to go on top, which is what's going to create a hollow form inside. You can smooth out where your side connects. And you're just going to do this process pretty much all the way around, except for that top where it's going to be open. So you can either start where you left off or start from the other side and kind of meet in the middle. Also, if your strips aren't cut at a right angle, that's something you should try to do before you stick them on. So I've already scored this all the way around. All I need to do is just score this piece along the top. Now when you have sharp turns like here, when it goes from there up, over, and back out, I personally think it's easier to do each side as its own piece. I think it gives it a better angle, an angle that's more accurate than when you're trying to curve it around those angles. The two pieces that stick together, you don't need to score and slip together since they're both going to be scored and slipped to the bottom. So I'm not going to score and slip that little part right there. Plus my clay is very wet right now, which is great. Alright, so once you have your sides all the way around, it's really important just to go back through every single one. You don't want to push down from the top because then that smashes them together. So if you're pushing down from the top, it would wrinkle them. You want to instead position your fingers on each side to push down and just really make sure that it's attached to your base really well, because this is how you want your clay to kind of start setting up. And I'm even going to take my fingers and kind of go along the sides. One thing that might be hard for you to see is to see these from the sides, but you want to make sure that they seem connected all the way around. Now the next step will be to take this piece of clay, score all the way along there, score and slip all the way along there, flip this over and stick them together. But this clay is so soft. If you're using new clay fresh out of the bag, it's probably too soft for these sides to be able to hold up that top. So a good solution is to just let this dry for a day or two in a bag. The bag doesn't need to be wet inside. There will be lots of humidity inside the bag from your clay. However, I would zip the bag up, but you could leave some air inside of it. So that's actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this up in some plastic. I'm going to wrap this piece up in some plastic. And then in a couple days, we'll take them out and stick them together. Alright, so now that our clay has had a few days to kind of set up and dry a little bit, we're ready to stick the other side onto our base. So our clay is still squishy and bendable, but it's not as easily smashable. It's going to hold its own weight just a little bit more. It's getting closer to being leather hard. So we're going to score along this top edge of the piece that you added the sides to last time. Then we're going to score along this area to flip it over and connect it. So you just take your fork. Now, the more dry your clay is, the more important scoring and slipping becomes. Scoring and slipping is always important. If you don't score and slip well, your clay does not hold together. But it's especially important to score deep and slip extremely well with lots of slip when your clay is starting to get hard, because your clay doesn't want to stick together as easily as it does when it's fresh out of the bag. And before I stick these on, I'm going to make sure that this easily comes off of my bag so that I can maneuver it and hold it. And I'm going to make sure that this easily comes off of the plastic as well. Now when I lay this down here in a minute, the middle of this is going to want to cave in. So to prevent that from happening, I just grabbed a paper towel roll. I'm going to lay it down in the middle to kind of add some support. Now you don't want your paper towel roll to stick up higher than the side. So you want to kind of squish it down to where they're the same height. And this will be pretty easy to pull out later. So I've got this all scored. This area is all scored. Now there are two ways to do it. It kind of depends on what you're more comfortable with. You can lay this on, or you can leave this flat and lay this onto here. I'm going to use the lighter piece and lay it onto the heavier piece. So I'm going to go ahead and add a generous amount of slip all the way along my edge. Then I'm going to take this piece in my hand and I'm going to lay it on top and carefully line them up. And I'm just going to go around and kind of support from the side and press down as I join these seams together all the way around. Now, if you notice an area where the wall sticks out a little bit, you just push that wall in so that its edge lines up with the outline of this vase. Vice versa, if you have an area where the wall kind of indents in, you can carefully slide a finger in there or a tool in there, locate that spot and kind of push it back out a little bit. If it's only a little off, don't worry about that. You can always smooth that out later. So you're just going to carefully join this together all the way around. So you can see from the side that I have that strip, and then I have the top and bottom of my vase. And now I'm going to just take some time to smooth these joints out and kind of make it all just look like one piece. Now, once you're done kind of smoothing out your sides and just making sure that all your joints are really connected where your two pieces meet, you probably want to go ahead and store this for another day or two so it gets to the leather hard stage.
All right, so that's it. That showed you how to create this clay vessel, this pot. Now the next video, which is adding design to your Greek pottery, will show you how to do the surface design. So once you've completed making this vessel, go ahead and follow that next video to do the design on the front and sides and back. Thanks for watching.